Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Right after the Pistons just played the New York Knicks game 3, man, that was a heartbreaker. I had chest pains. They took 10 years off my life. But I am joined by a first-time special guest, Ledgie Sports. Ledgie, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you doing?
I mean, like, do you want the
Bad
short
question to
answer,
ask.
the short or long answer?
Let's get the long one. Come on, let's ramble on here.
Oh man, referee. We'll get into it. Referees, runs in the second. This was a game of runs, a game of roller coaster runs. But we'll get into that. Before we do kind of get into the breaking down this game and this podcast, anytime I do have a guest, I let them just kind of plug and promote whatever they're working on. I know you have a brand new YouTube show that you're doing with some guys over there. So I can tell the people where they can find you and support you before we get going.
Yeah, on Twitter or I guess X now, or YouTube at Ledgie Sports. That's where I post all my content. Recently started doing lives in a new show called Connect 313, and that's on the Ledgie Sports YouTube channel with Sean Murphy. I know he's been on the show quite a bit. Also, Pistons writer for the Detroit Bad Boys, Brennan Sims. He also does some Heat content as well. But, I mean, it's really lighthearted stuff. We try to go in there, have a good time, trying to do more than just talk analytics, more than just that. So having fun on there. We crack jokes. We berate each other about certain things. We do games on there. So it's a good time. We'd love to have you on sometime, man.
Let me know, because Sean and I get in a podcast, it'll probably be 4 hours with yourself and your co-host. So just expect it to be a long podcast. But anytime you want me on, I will come on. I love talking basketball at the end of the day.
Perfect.
But let's get into this game because, man, first and foremost, shout out to the city of Detroit. That place was packed. And it was like, if I could hear it on my TV, like the way the fans were just chanting F you Brunson, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But shout out to the city, man. They just packed that arena. I don't think I saw one empty seat.
Yeah. There was a lot of people in there. That was the most exhilarating game I've seen sitting on my couch. I was having goosebumps during a lot of those chants because I'm like, whoa, man, we're the ones yelling at this time. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no more fake 2K defense chants. Like there's actually people there like chanting defense. And I shouldn't be surprised because I know how the city of Detroit is with their sports teams. And I feel like I haven't heard a crowd like that crazy since the Palace days. Like no shot at like the Blake years, but I think we all knew we were going to lose that series against the Bucks in 2018. But man, the crowd was electric. But we can get into this game a little bit. Tim Hardaway Jr. legacy game. What the wow. Gets poked in the eye within like, I don't know, first like 2 minutes, and it just pissed him off the rest of the game. I don't know what Brunson was trying to do there.
Yeah, it was going straight for his eye. You watch it in slow motion. Like there's the thing where if you're not going to be able to get the ball, you put the hand in front of the eyes to maybe blind the dude. And that's something I've seen. That's something I've done. But it was directly straight towards his eyeball.
It was like he's trying to like gouge his eyes. I was like, okay, you got a flavor of one from it. GHJ, he stepped up. Dennis Schroeder, we'll probably talk about a little bit later. He stepped up. But I thought in the first quarter, what really hurt us was we just didn't close out on 3-point shooters on the perimeter. There was just so many plays where I'm seeing, OG Anunoby wide open in the corner, or Cat for that matter. Cat had a great game tonight, which I expected with him not scoring in the second half in game 2. But what did you kind of make of just like the kind of not as aggressive closeouts from 3 that the Pistons could have had?
Yeah, I mean, in general, with that first quarter, a lot of what I noticed was it felt like they had a lot of pressure on them compared to the first 2 starts. So as I'm looking at that, it's weird because you think in game 3, they're a little bit more attuned to what's going on. But I think just being in front of the home crowd gave them a little more jitters than I thought.
Especially the start the gate, because it was like 8-1. They take a timeout, and like you could feel the nerves with the players, or watching the players for that matter. Like they're kind of looking around. They're like, oh, this is what the playoffs are like for Detroit Pistons fans. Like they were locked in, and I expected that from the fan base. I think maybe the
Yeah.
players, they've heard like how crazy Pistons fans get in the playoffs, but I don't really think they've fully expected the crowd to be that loud and that into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously they end the first quarter 33-27, which they kept it close in the first quarter. Dennis Schroeder, that's Germany FIBA Dennis Schroeder, if I've ever seen one. He was incredible tonight. I thought JB kind of leaned on him a little bit too much down the stretch, which we'll probably talk about in the fourth quarter a little bit. But I mean, I feel like the second quarter is what lost them the game. And Knicks go on a 16-3 run, and they have over a 13-point lead at halftime. What did you kind of make of the Pistons' performance in the second quarter? Of just it felt like offensively there was a lot of rush shots. They weren't really passing the basketball. There were situations where they're taking threes within like 2-3 seconds of the shot clock.
Yeah, that's when I first noticed Malik Beasley was continuing his trend of what he's been doing in the playoffs. Game one was decent, but this is a guy who we've seen this happen throughout his career. He's played decent in the regular season, and once the playoffs hit, he hits some sort of wall. And I was really hoping in this second quarter he would break out of it at some point during that Knicks run. It just never happened. I mean, Schroeder also was becoming like a cult favorite in this game. If we would have pulled out the W, he would have been up there in terms of the favorite role players of all time in Pistons history because of kind of what this season is and what he's meant for this team and the shots he's made. Like, wasn't it his first game? He hit a crazy three at the end of the game to ice. I can't remember who they were going against. Was it Golden State? It was something crazy. But anyways, Schroeder just, I mean, defense, offense, playing off of Cade, playing with Cade, playing without Cade. It's been great.
Yeah, I think the game you're referring to, I think in the regular season, it might have been Cleveland where he was going crazy.
Yeah.
But if you would have told me Dennis Schroeder would have been one of the most impactful players, like second to Cade, I'd be like, what's going on with Beasley? What's going on with THJ? Yeah. I know Dennis Schroeder's a gamer. I know he's a really good player, but he has kind of just raised the floor of my expectations for him because I didn't really expect a whole lot going into the playoffs. I didn't expect him to shoot the lights out from three. I didn't expect him to, do a pretty good job defensively, just one-on-one defense versus Brunson, because he's definitely getting under the skin under guys like Cam Payne and Josh Hart and others. But I did want to talk about him for a minute because I thought he did a pretty good job. Tobias getting 3 fouls, I thought was another reason why the Knicks were able to go on that run. Just a really frustrating game for him. I think defensively, it's just ticky-tack fouls that you just can't have, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, earlier in the series, he played really well on Cat. In this game, we saw a really aggressive Cat, and I don't think that fared well. Like Tobias played well on him, but also we didn't see super aggressive Karl Anthony Towns there. I mean, what did he shoot? 2 for 9 tonight, 1 of 3 from 3. I mean, he was still a plus 10, which was the only positive player other than Ron Holland. So he had an impact, but it was just not in the ways that we would have liked to see. Because, I mean, if he scores, I mean, honestly, one more bucket, we could be talking about a game that could have went to overtime.
Yeah, he didn't score his first bucket until 5 minutes into the fourth quarter, which, when I looked at the box, I was like, oh, wow, like they really kind of kept Tobias in check, but it was more of him just not being available and being on the bench. And, first 2 playoff games, I thought, the first game scored over 20 points, second game had a double-double. So I don't want fans to kind of lay on him too much. It was more of just foul trouble because I already see, Pistons fans, how reactionary they are. Like, I don't even want to read the post-game comments on my Instagram account right now because I know they're toxic as hell. I really don't. But, going to the halftime, Knicks had a 66-53 lead. Now, coming on halftime, talk about runs. The Pistons start the third quarter with a 20-9 run. Kind of get back within this game, but the Knicks also go on a run. They go on a 9-2 run. It seemed like each team had their opportunities to try to get ahead, and then the other team's like, hold on a minute, like we're gonna try to keep this close. What did you kind of make of the Pistons coming out, just really aggressive defensively at halftime.
Yeah, it was great, but it wasn't enough to get too far ahead. I mean, they obviously they broke down the New York lead. The biggest lead for New York was 14 at that point. But I mean, there was only 2 lead changes as well. So when you're talking about these runs, it kept going back and forth, but it wasn't like it was constant lead changes. It was Detroit would kind of inch their way back in, but New York would just put the hammer down and keep going. And there was just ticky-tack things that Detroit wasn't able to accomplish. Easy finishes, easy passes, turnovers that, I mean, the runs broke down. You can only do it for so long until someone kind of breaks away. We got lucky at the end, though, with a few things going our way, and we shouldn't have been in the game when we were in it.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple fortunate bounces, I will say, for the Pistons, especially with, missed opportunities on the Knicks end, which they usually capitalize on that. I thought Jalen Brunson does what he does, got to the free throw line, played a pretty good game. I'm sure we're going to get into the last play of the game in a little bit, but to only be trailing 10 in the fourth, going into the fourth, I liked our chances, but that fourth quarter, I want to focus on this because I know Asar Thompson didn't have a good game.
Yeah,
he only played 18 minutes. I felt JB kind of relied on Dennis way too much. I thought Ron Holland tonight in spurts, especially in the second quarter or third quarter, mind you, when they went in that run, really sparked the defensive effort from this basketball team. But 2 of your best defenders were watching the entirety of the game from the bench. What did you kind of make of just the rotations in the fourth by JB?
Yeah, that was really weird not seeing Asar in the fourth. I know he was having his issues throughout the game, but he's a guy that we've relied on through and throughout this whole season to finish some of these out. And if you don't have him in, I mean, maybe Ron Holland, maybe Paul Reed to get some a little bit more defense in there in some sort of configuration. But it was just a really interesting JB experience, because I feel like the first 2 games of the season or of the playoffs, we were really witnessing a JB Bickerstaff that was open and willing to adapt to what was going on and making game plan changes and changing minutes and changing rotations. But it feels like in this game, it was just almost like a regression game. And I don't want to put too much on it, but it was just really weird to see some of those lapses there.
Yeah, it's like when you give yourself an opportunity to tie the game or get it within a 1-possession game, I get he's going to roll with his vets. He's going to roll with Malik. He's going to roll with Tim and Dennis. I get it. That's how coaches are. They're always going to roll with those veteran players because they have more experience. But I thought Ron, throughout these first 3 games, I really expected him to have a bigger role with Simone Fontecchio being completely out of the rotation. We haven't not seen 1 minute of Simone Fontecchio, which I expected. I did not expect him to rely on Timmy and Malik so heavily. I thought Ron would have a bigger impact. And you've seen from game 1 to game 3, Ron's getting a little bit more trust from the coaching staff, but very questionable rotations down the stretch. And I know Caps fans have told me, just wait till the playoffs. You'll see the rotations kind of shrink and get a little frustrated. But as a Piston fan, I don't know about you, I'm just happy to be here. Going from 14 to 44, honestly, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations going into the season. I don't know about you, but I think this is a really great learning experience for a young Detroit Pistons team right now.
Yeah, I am not mad whatsoever with whatever outcome happens from here on out. We won 1 game, which was already more than I expected. We didn't even make the play-in. We made the 6th seed, which was more than I expected. So it's house money. It's one of those things where I am just happy to be here. I know Cade was happy and saying he really enjoyed the moment after game 1, and Knicks fans were clowning him like, oh, he's just here for the moment. Like, he doesn't really care, but he cares. As a fan, though, I'm just happy.
Yeah, I get it. Like, we have a lot of Knicks fans in the live chat right now talking smack, and obviously you're going to talk smack when you win. They weren't in the live chat when the Pistons won game 2. Just going to call a spade, but hey, man, they can talk all the trash they want. I really don't care, and I haven't engaged, and I think it's actually pissed them off like 10 times more. Like, I actually got 2 death threats this week from Knicks fans. Like, that's how bad it is. Yeah. was
Yeah,
like,
actually,
man,
I'm not Ledgie Sports. I am not doing that. That is not my YouTube channel.
hey man, I don't
That's
think so.
brutal.
Yeah, I mean, like you do it long enough, you'll get those death threats. You'll get like those really nasty like message requests. And I just so happened to open some today. I was like, oh wow, it's gotten that deep. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I got my first hate comment a few videos ago, and it was like after a video with Sean, and it was after the whole Minnesota fight. And so Sean was public enemy #1 for Minnesota fans, and he came right on my podcast after that, and they all funneled from him to my channel. So that could happen here.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, people are gonna have their opinions. I never tell a fan out of fan.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Brunson, whether it was a backcourt violation, whether it wasn't. It seems like he put the ball down and then he's like, oh shit. And then he goes in the backcourt and they don't call it. Like, did you think that was a backcourt violation or it was just way too close to the call because it was just a bang bang play?
Yeah, initially it felt way too close to the call, and I was trying to stay very neutral and saying, well, it wasn't called. I want to see a replay. I'm very hesitant to overreact on some of those things, and a lot of comments that came through on Twitter were very, very aggressive about it. I'll say that. Looking at the replay, it does look like I don't think he had the ball before he crossed over. I want to pull this up again though. I only watched it a few times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time they tried to zoom in, you couldn't actually tell if he actually had possession of the ball because you can only do so much with, cameras when you are watching the game. But I mean, it was just such a close call. If it was a backcourt violation and the refs missed it, at the end of the day, they're human. But
Yeah.
honestly, it was such a close possession. I just kind of wanted to get your take on it because I see a lot of not so much myself, but a lot of Pistons fans right now are kind of talking about the officials, which I feel like that's kind of been a talking point all series, which I haven't really got into it because I feel like each game you could point to a play or point to situations where a player's not getting to the free throw line enough.
Yep.
I know in game 2, Knicks fans had mentioned that Brunson was getting hacked. He wasn't getting to the free throw line. He got to the free throw line tonight, which I think he kind of forces the issue, kind of forces you to give him foul calls. And that's just his play style at the end of the day. You just have to adapt to it as players and as coaching staffs. But, overall, I think the games have been officiated as best as you really can in playoff basketball.
Yeah, especially with Jalen Brunson and players that do seek contact. When you're in a 7-game series, I can say that you're going to kind of figure it out. You're not going to solve it because Jalen Brunson's a star at doing it. So when you're in a 7-game series, hopefully they're starting to learn some of these cues. So when they come into game 4, they can maybe stop from doing something he wants you to do, scouting it that way. I don't know. Overall, I just think the play style is really tough to rely on, but when it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. Like I'm not like some Pistons fans where I'm saying he's a bad player because I'm sure you've seen that on the timeline as well. Of just the timeline's been really toxic, and I've tried not to engage with like either side because like at the end of the day we're all fans and we're gonna be ride or die for our team. But I think I can kind of just be unbiased and say Jalen Brunson's a good player. Cade Cunningham's a great player. I'm not gonna be up here like on some debate show saying like this player is the best player in the series. Like I was like, you guys can have those conversations because you're just trying to get clicks or ratings. But I did want to go to a couple comments from this post game show that are people watching live on YouTube and on Twitter. Bayern has a really good assessment. The young guys will learn a lot from this loss. They competed until the last buzzer. We kind of touched on that, just like kind of the learning experience. We didn't even talk about Jalen Duren kind of inbounding the ball. Like, what did you kind of make of that as well? Like, would you like to see someone else other than Duren do that?
I would have. It was so weird. It brought me back to flashbacks of, was it 2 years ago when they wouldn't have Cade inbound the ball? Or was it was it Killian or something? They wouldn't have the best passer inbound the ball. And then Dwayne Casey said it was a sign of respect, or so there was something weird with that. But I didn't know where they were going. Like, I was looking at them get set up where they needed to be, and Jalen Duren walking over there. I was like, that's not JD passing it in, is it? Because if that's to go cross court, like, don't you want Cade Cunningham or a Dennis Schroeder? I mean, hell, even like a Malik Beasley throwing it up, and then hopefully you can get some kind of like a quick catch and turn in the paint or in the near the 3-point line. But it ending in a turnover in the backcourt was just very odd. It just felt very 2023, 2024 Pistons.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with that Casey player. I remember it vividly, right free in my head now that you just brought it up. But yeah, like late shot clock violation. I don't know if they were going to just try to get Cade the ball and Cade tried to shoot it last minute.
Yeah.
But JD had a couple passes tonight where he wasn't fully aware of his surroundings, I think, and he just kind of, overshot it a little bit, which I'm not going to rag on him too much. I mean, 21-year-old, his first playoffs, but the coaches probably should have said, like, hey, Dennis, you pass the ball, or Cade, you pass the ball, because you don't want your center that's still learning, DHO offenses to be under that type of pressure. And I'm sure that replay is just going to get drilled into any kind of film that they do watch of like what not to do in late clock situations. So Organic Little, actually I have not seen him in a while. If Beasley and Tobias play like they had a pulse, we win. Shout out to you, man. I've not seen you. Hope you're well. We kind of touched on it. Like, this hasn't been a Malik Beasley type of games, but some people have mentioned that Beasley in the playoffs doesn't show up, which I thought he did okay in Milwaukee, but these first 3 games have not been Malik Beasley games that I've kind of grown accustomed to in the regular season. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I just feel like there's not a lot of opportunity for him to get the open shots he saw a lot during the regular season when you have OG and Anunoby, you have Mikal Bridges coming off screens. It just doesn't seem like he's confident in his shot right now. So I don't know what JB Bickerstaff can do to get him in a position where kind of like in the fourth quarter, instead of just chucking up a lot of threes, I mean, he was getting inside, he was finishing, he had a big dunk at one point. So getting him those easy shots to kind of build up that rhythm, that momentum. But I mean, with the comment, if they did play better, yes, they would win. And we're a few things away in each game from being 3-0. So I'm really happy about that. But I bet you Malik Beasley isn't, because these guys, they might say like, well, I mean, but we aren't 3-0. We're 1-2 now. So it's just those little things about building up the confidence again in him, because I feel like Beasley this season has been kind of a rhythm shooter, has been a confidence shooter. So when things aren't going down, what can we do to, I don't know. I don't want to say ease the nerves, because these guys are pretty cold-blooded in the NBA. Like, they're on fire all the time. So yeah, it's just a weird situation with Bees.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like Dennis Schroeder has kind of picked up the slack with that, because he's more of just a player that is more looking to pass and set up the offense, but he's kind of taken more of a scoring role with Beasley kind of not producing the way that I think Pistons fans were accustomed to in the regular season.
Do you think they should have put him? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but do you think they should have taken him out a little bit earlier? I think it was either in the second or the third. There was a point where he was just shooting really rough. Like, do you think you just rely on the vet that JB is kind of grown accustomed to, or should they have maybe went to the bench a little bit?
I felt like some of his shots, especially in the second and first quarter, were so forced, and they were really out of character for him. I don't know if it was the nerves of playing in front of a really rowdy home Detroit Pistons crowd. I don't know if it's maybe just a little slump that he's in right now, but I think, the coaching staff could have taken him aside, just tell him, like, breathe, slow down, just, be yourself. Right. But we really didn't see him, get going until the fourth quarter. He had a nasty dunk, by the way, which we didn't even touch on. And I was like, man, like, he got up. But I think it's a thing with JB where he just trusts these vets so much and he's just going to rely on them. But I personally, and I might get hate for this, I probably would have thrown Ron in there in that situation, just because I know Ron's not the 3-point shooter that Beasley is. But one thing about Ron, that he's just always going to bring energy, hustle, effort. And I thought in the third quarter, he should have been out there closing the fourth quarter. Did a really good job of, not following too much. Just the hustle plays that he gives you second chance opportunities. But I mean, that's playoff rotations at the end of the day. I'm not an NBA coach. I'm just a podcaster. It's easier said than done, I'm sure, at the end of the day.
Yeah, with Ron, it's one of those interesting things where this is the first Pistons rookie in how long that has had meaningful minutes in playoff basketball. What was it? Was it Stanley Johnson?
Yeah.
Was that the last guy? I mean, because he was the LeBron stopper that year.
Oh God, you're gonna cause World War III in the YouTube chat right now, bringing up his name.
All I'm saying is Ron Holland is he's getting so much meaningful experience here, and I mean, the beginning of the year he didn't get a lot of minutes, and the trajectory has been going up, especially on a team that's winning. It's not like it's a lottery team that's okay. Give the young guy minutes because we have to. We want to see him grow. He's providing like quality minutes for us.
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with them throughout the season, not really having like a defined role, especially with Asar out in the beginning of the season. He was kind of getting those reps that Asar probably would have gotten. And then when Asar came back, his role kind of diminished. But I mean, we've seen games this year where he's just really stepped up, made himself available, and he just affects winning. He's always seems like he's in every scuffle, seems like he's always on the floor diving.
Yes.
And the way he can finish around the basket as a rookie is really impressive. Like I've been so impressed with him just during his rookie season. I don't know about you.
Yeah, love it.
So we do have a Knicks fan in here, and I've told you guys before, Pistons, Knicks fans, this is an open space. If you guys want to drop comments, it's fine. We have a Knicks fan in here. I said to myself, the Pistons are competitive and will compete, but the Knicks just have more talent, and that's what matters in the playoffs. And I've touched about this. I don't know about you. If you look at the Knicks roster, it's full of all-stars. It's full of guys that have played big playoff minutes, have played in the big moments before. But I think that's something that worried a lot of Pistons fans of, where is the secondary creation going to come from? Is it going to be Tobias? So far, it's been Dennis. This is where you really kind of miss a guy like Jaden Ivey, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, you're going against a team that traded for a guy, and it took 5 first-round picks, a swap, second round. I mean, there's one player on the Pistons that is worth that, and they have multiple. So it's just really interesting when you're talking about the dynamic of stars versus this kind of team-centered basketball that the Pistons play. And that's why I love JB Bickerstaff, because he's bringing in these guys that aren't known for being insane defenders. Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder. And they're also older. They're not known for being quick, yet we're number 2 in fast break scoring. We're near the top in defense. He's getting these guys to play. And everyone is buying in. These young guys have wanted to be coached for years. So at some point, and I think the Pistons have a chance to win next game, and they still have a chance to win the series. So when you have just this crew of guys that is just willing to play for the coach and willing to play for each other, I think that sometimes can outdo the Knicks' star power. And I mean, I know I'm really sound like the power of friendship can really save the Pistons, but that's kind of just how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, I expected the Knicks to at least make it to the second round, and who knows what happens with Boston, if Orlando's just going to cut them up or dive on their ankles, or what even happens with that series if Boston's even 100% healthy. But I think, to your point, I agree with you that the Knicks drained all their assets. They have championship or bust aspirations. And with a roster like that, why wouldn't you? Like that, it's a star-studded roster. Cat, Mikal Bridges, who they gave up, I think 5 first-round picks. OG Anunoby, who was a really good pickup from them by Toronto. That's what I've kind of told Knicks fans that have been on these podcasts. It's like, if I'm you guys, if I don't make it out of the first round, I'm pretty ticked off.
Yeah.
I think the Pistons will definitely compete and give them tough battles like we saw tonight. But if the Pistons really want to make this a series, they got to play like they played in Game 2, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Be locked in for a full 48. You can't let the Knicks go on these 16-3 runs and try to just come up an uphill battle being down 10 in the fourth quarter. It's really hard. You got to play like excellent defense for a full 12. And when you're going up against all-stars like that can just score on anybody, they're really talented isolation scorers at the end of the day. It's going to be really tough to beat a New York Knicks team like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a game where their stars showed out. 30 points for Brunson, 20 for Bridges, 31 for Towns, 22 Anunoby. And it doesn't matter if the rest of your guys score 6, 3, 2, and 4, because you have those guys that can get it done for you. And I mean, if the Pistons really do want a chance to win, I mean, Tobias Harris has to play better on offense. Malik Beasley has to play better on offense. And Tim Hardaway Jr. started off really hot. Well, he made his first 6 threes. Is that what it was?
Something like that. Something crazy like that. Yeah.
And then he made one more, but missed his next, like 5, 6. So, I mean, you'd really need the flamethrower that is Tim Hardaway Jr. to keep going. Cade shot 10 for 25. So not a great shooting night for any of the guys. And it was still a close game. That's a thing where it's concerning because it's kind of become a trend with Malik Beasley. And, but it's also very, it's a positive point because it shows that we're still close in these games and it's just a few tweaks to getting past the hump.
Right. It's like, it was only a 2-point loss and guys didn't really have a good shooting night. If they had a regular shooting night, Pistons might win this game. Who knows? We're not going to play what ifs, but it was a competitive game. Outside of game one, I think if you look at the final score, it was just them collapsing in the fourth and never recovering. And I thought that was going to happen again in the third. I was like, oh crap, here we go again. Because that was kind of a trend. I don't know how many games that you kind of watched towards the end of the regular season where they really struggled to score the basketball. There were multiple times this season where they went 5-6 minutes without scoring a basket. And I kind of felt nervous going into the playoffs that was going to be a habit that they started developing. And it's not a habit that you want to keep getting into night in and night out.
Yeah, it was tough because they weren't getting in the fast break as much in a lot of those games. And this game as well, they did not. They lost the fast break battle 13-12. I think that's what it was. But like I said, there's all these things that they need to do to be able to beat the Knicks. You have to run in the fast break and you have to limit them to the half court because, I mean, going back to talking about the runs in that third quarter, the things that really led to Detroit breaking that, the streak from New York was forcing them to try to score in the half court. I mean, I think they made one of their first 6 in half court possessions and I guess one of their first 6 shots in the third quarter, but that one shot came in the fast break. So I'm really curious next game what we can do to kind of limit their transition basketball and to increase ours, just getting out a little bit quicker, more outlets. I mean, it seems simple, but
yeah, they're such a hard team to try to stop in the fast break. I think one thing you can do is make sure you're not taking, unless the guy's wide open, taking just transition threes with the hand in your face and the log and rebound comes out and then the running opportunities. There were plenty of possessions tonight where, Cade was doing that, Malik was doing that. And then, Knicks get the ball. It's a disadvantage for the Pistons trying to get back on transition defense. And it's just an easy basket. There wasn't too many transition opportunities for the Knicks, but I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, every possession counts at the end of the day. Every possession can be anywhere from you have a 5-point lead to it's a 6 to 10-point swing if you have a couple bad possessions.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's honestly crazy. I have a comment from Alex Jasper. Pistons are competing versus a team that's all in after winning 14 games is insane. The future is very bright and we aren't done yet. Pistons in 6 until Mass says 7. I love the confidence from Alex. He's always in here, just spitting positivity. I wish I was more like you, Alex. Sometimes I'm a pessimist. But at the end of the day, man, you're right. The future is incredibly bright. I don't think this is just a team that's going to make the playoffs this year and they won't make the playoffs next year. I think this is a team that they really don't have a ceiling yet. They don't really have a an answer, I think, of who's going to be that number 2 option. We'd like to think it's Ivy, but who really knows? I'm really high on Jaden Ivey. I hope he's the number 2 option next to Cade. And I see some people saying like Cade needs that number 2 option and needs that Batman. Maybe it is Ivy. We really don't know, but I think the future is bright for this team. And I'd love to hear your thoughts of just kind of like the bigger picture with this team.
Yeah, I really was of the mindset that I wanted to make a big move in the offseason, make a splash, go find a Naz Reid. But I mean, 28 other teams are going to love to have Naz Reid that aren't the Pistons or the Timberwolves. So that's probably not going to happen. And then getting a big fish like a Devin Booker, there's so many people that have assets more than what we have. Plus, if we were to give up enough assets, we'd gut the team, so there'd be no point in doing it in the first place. So I've really kind of settled on the decision of go through this offseason, continue with what you have, re-sign the guys, and then take it to the trade deadline. There's no reason to rush it because, I mean, the worst thing you could do is make a big move in the offseason and then it just kind of not work in the regular season, just some kinks don't go right. But if you get to the trade deadline, you know exactly what happened that season, days before, so you can make an analysis there on what do you need to do. So then you can kind of decide from there and say, okay, this first half of the season, our 3-point percentage is low. Let's go get a 3-point shooter. Let's go get one of those guys. So, and I don't even know if we need to go out and get a huge star, because I do think Asar is a jump shot away from truly becoming one of those elite guys. Jaden Ivey, I think, was showing he was consistent from the 3-point line. And I don't think he's close to being a star, but I don't know. It's just an interesting thing because I just don't think that the best thing to do is to go out and just spend a ton of assets to get locked into something. That's kind of what the Raptors did, and look where they are right now. I mean, they could be pretty good next year, but they have a lot of money into something we don't really know what it looks like yet.
Yeah, I've always kind of tried it towards the cautious side to tell Pistons fans. Obviously, I'm not Trajan Langdon. I don't work in the front office, but I would be okay with just running it back, being an over-the-cap team. Like if you want to have conversations about bringing Tim, bringing Dennis back, and re-signing Malik, I'd be okay with that. I really would, because like we haven't really seen what this team would look like full strength. Like we barely got to see Bobby Klitman, who I expect to come off the bench next year. I think he's really going to compete with Simone's minutes, because I don't really think a lot of people are too familiar with how skilled he is, just as a kind of a point forward, if you will. Jaden Ivey, like what kind of happens with Dennis Schroeder? Does he kind of go more into like that secondary role off the bench with Beasley running the second unit? I think there's a lot of questions that I have that I'd like to see. Like, what does this team look like firing on all cylinders, just having a full strength roster? I know Pistons fans, they mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr., especially with the Grizzlies kind of just going out really sad. They mentioned Devin Booker. They've been mentioning Devin Booker ever since he started lighting it up in Phoenix, like if we're being honest. You know, they mentioned guys like Zion, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
It's terrifying.
I just wouldn't. And it's not even a basketball thing. It's more of like a nightlife thing, especially here in Michigan and in Detroit. I think he would fold in a week. I personally would, if you know, you know. But I mean, there's honestly so many, you know, star players that I think a lot of Pistons fans look at, like Lauri Markkanen, who would be such an ideal fit on this team, but he costs a lot. And Danny Ainge would probably want like half of our core and our firstborn child, if we're being honest. Like Danny Ainge is like a shrewd businessman in negotiations.
And look at that Gobert deal.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota was like, okay, we got to trade Cat because we don't want to be a second apron team. We got to blow up our team. It's honestly crazy, but I don't know. I really don't know what they're gonna do. But to Alex's point, like the future's bright. We shouldn't rush this process just because, you know, we made the playoffs this year. I would just run it back, keep developing these guys, and maybe they can turn into those star players that so many Pistons fans want. Like give JB and Fred Vincent, who you had mentioned, that works with the SAR and Ron Holland. Like, give him a full off season to work with those guys shooting and seeing what their 3-point shot looks like, because you never know, they could come into next season as better 3-point shooters. And I mean, you kind of look at his track record in New Orleans. I mean, they don't call him the shot doctor for nothing.
Yeah, I have Bobby Clintman's Bobby fan account in my name on Twitter. That's how much I am a truther of his. And did you watch much of his G League tape?
So one of my jobs I used to do is cover the cruise. So I did a lot of cruise stuff. This year, I actually watched it and I wasn't working. So I got to see him a couple of times. Before the season, I actually had the opportunity to interview his trainer from Sweden. So
Nice.
I've gotten to know Bobby and his family quite well. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Bobby.
Oh shit, man. Yeah. I absolutely loved him from the moment we picked him. It was love at first sight. I always attach to random dudes we draft. And man, his play style is fantastic. He looks like he's an all-around player. And what I remember from the summer league was whenever he'd get the ball, he'd make the right play. It was kind of like he wouldn't always get the direct assist, but if we counted hockey assists or pass to assists, he would be great in that aspect.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm just kind of remembering the interview I had with him, and his trainer told me that he had a growth spurt, obviously, because he used to play point guard, and then he just like shot up like 6-7 inches. So you kind of see those playmaking abilities with Bobby, which I don't know what happened to Simone this year, but if he struggles the way he did this season again, I think going into training camp, I think the backup minutes, the backup power forward minutes are up for grabs. And I think they're 100% Bobby's. If he has a good training camp, add some muscle, because I think that's his only weakness.
Yes.
There's not really like a weakness in his game. Get in the weight room a little bit, because I think he's got really great defensive instincts, really good passing ability. And he just doesn't get sped up. To your point, like he just makes the right basketball play, and he was really well trained, obviously, because some guys just in those moments when they're rookies, they just make so many mistakes. But even his last game against Milwaukee, you could kind of see the passing ability, the flashes, the defensive potential. So I'm just saying high on Bobby as you, but I can't lie. I'm a second round sicko as well. I remember getting excited with Jordan Bone, Davidas Servitas. I mean, we can go down the list.
Peyton Siva.
Yeah. Oh man. You're gonna piss so many Michigan fans off with that name.
I remember that year because I was a freshman in high school who loved the Pistons, but knew jack shit about the Pistons at that point. So we drafted him, and I was a Michigan State guy, but I really wasn't. I just wanted to rough up my family because they were all Michigan fans, or some of them were. And so I just remember saying, yeah, Peyton Siva is going to be better than Trey Burke. I'm just calling it right now. And for a few years, it looked kind of like a wash until he really went off in, was it New York and then Dallas? Anyways, that's besides the point.
Yeah, I just did a podcast with some Pelicans beat reporters yesterday, and they were asking me about Joe Dumars. I'm like, how much time you got? because they're nervous, which alternate universe, you got Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver working in New Orleans. Crazy times we're living in. Got Pelicans guys up here now. It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about it yet. I've done a little bit of just digging and just trying to figure out the best moves and the worst moves of each guy. I did a video on it yesterday with Hamilton Hoop, so you guys can check that one out as well. But the biggest thing for me is those are two really smart basketball minds when you talk about the things that they've done in their pasts. And when you put Troy Weaver in a position where he's not the sole decision maker, when there's no president above him, and obviously we can talk about people talking about the puppet masters in the Pistons front office of previous, but when Weaver was the only guy that didn't have a president above him, I mean, it really showed the flaws that he had as a manager. He was a really, really good scout. He was really good at finding talent throughout the drafts. And that's one thing I can always appreciate with Weaver. But besides that, I can't really say too much positive. But putting that with Dumars, who, I mean, manufactured the championship team in the Eastern Conference Finals runs team. That's awesome. But then you talk about trading Chauncey. So, I mean, there's a negative there. But, I mean, what he did was great and historic for this franchise. So you have two really good, smart minds together. And I think that they can really make something work, especially because I feel like I read something that the ownership is making one of the prerequisites. They have to get rid of Zion. I mean, I don't know how much fact that is. Am I making that up? Did you see that?
I've seen that too. And we literally have people in the chat saying Zion will be on the Knicks, which, I mean, I know like when Knicks fans, before they had the team that they had, I remember the jersey swaps. I remember going to a Pistons game and someone got a custom-made New York Knicks Zion Williamson jersey. And I'm like, bro, no way. They were all in Zion, and I get it. Like, Pistons fans were pretty down bad. Like, we did LaMelo swaps. We did Wemby swaps. Like, I get it. When you're kind of down in the dumps and you're rebuilding. But I think Zion to the Heat is my prediction, personally.
That you were just talking about someone's nightlife in Detroit. Imagine the nightlife in Miami. Were you talking about Zion there too?
Yeah. I think the reason why Detroit wouldn't do it for the nightlife is because Trajan knows, but Pat Riley to me is desperate enough where he needs another star to build around. And they will probably just keep an eye on him like crazy. But I have a feeling once he leaves New Orleans, I think all the injuries are going to stop. It's just a prediction. I don't really think he's as injured as a lot of people in the media talk about. I think once he just gets out of New Orleans, and for whatever reason, every time someone leaves the Pelicans organization, they automatically get healthy. I mean, look at Dyson Daniels. He had so many injuries, goes to Atlanta, had one of his healthiest seasons in his career. I mean, our front office, like, they leave the Pelicans, they have instant success. It's something down there in New Orleans and with the Pelicans and the Saints. It's just really dysfunctional, and I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. You mentioned the Saints. Have you been keeping track of the draft going on at all?
A little bit. I saw Lions fans like giving Ben Johnson shit because it's kind of making a positional value draft pick, but man.
I'm going to say I'm like a pseudo Bears fan because of Dynasty football. I have Caleb Williams, and so I've watched a lot of Bears podcasts, and I'm like, I kind of enjoyed what they're doing there. Not like, and I've never really been a huge football guy before I got into Dynasty football a few years ago. So, or I guess fantasy football a few years ago and Dynasty now. But yeah, it's been a fun draft so far. Not to get us too far off. Sorry, I'm off task there.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I know I was kind of giving Sean shit because he's like, yeah, people might be watching the draft outside the Pistons game because we're kind of like going off a rip of 97-1 the ticket. Like, what are you gonna watch? Like, both. It's not one or either. Like the draft's gonna be on my phone, and the game's gonna be on the big screen. Like,
yep, that's what I was doing.
Like a little, I think that's what everyone with common sense was doing. But you know how some radio stations are around here. Like it's honestly crazy. We've been on almost for an hour, which I do appreciate. You definitely have to do more podcasts with you in the future. Get Sean on here because I think it would be a riot with all three of us or whoever you want to invite. Like I've done podcasts with 10 people on here before. It's honestly just I want to talk about crazy.
Yeah, but we need to get you on the 313 Connect. That would be a good time. We'll play some games. We did our first one we did. I made this Blaha game where I gave 3 truths and a lie, 3 true Blaha quotes, and I made one up. Don't know if I have them anymore. I don't know where I would find it, but it was.
Oh man, I would probably get a
huge spider crawling on the ground. That's really gross. Sorry. I just looked at it. And, oh man.
Honestly, I'd probably fail at Blaha because sometimes I have the game on mute, so I probably wouldn't know. But I mean, unless it's like something crazy.
I have it. Do you want to hear it?
Okay.
They're on an 8-game losing streak talking about, and that was in regards to Greg mentioning that what do 10 Hawks players have in common? And then there's guess South Beach had a better offer tonight in terms of Miami fans. He's guarding him like it's an open house. About Trenton Watford guarding Cade Cunningham. And then Toronto's offense is colder than a Michigan winter.
I feel like all those are true. That's like
the first one. I'm just gonna say the first one is a true one. I read it and I was like, wait, what's the context behind this? Because it's been like 2 weeks, 3 weeks since I've read this. So
I don't even know. Maybe the second one isn't true.
No, it's the third one. He's guarding him like it's an open house.
I feel like he would say that though.
Yeah, he would.
He would say that though. Yeah, Devon says Blah has said called the Michigan winter before. Yeah. See, like sometimes I'm not always listening to the games with sound on, but like I know this year when Blaha was on a heater, like dude, he was talking some shit. I was like, yo, like even Greg started getting into it. They're getting a little snippy, and I was just like, probably the all-time one. I don't know if you heard this year. George was trying to get into the game, and LCA security wouldn't let him in. And he's just like,
I did not hear that.
He was like, they wouldn't let me in. And he was like, they were patting down my wife. I was like, yo, whoa. Like they wouldn't let us in. It's like, do you have your credentials? I'm like, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Like, they're play-by-play announcers. They wouldn't let him into the arena for like a good 5 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, I saw him when I went to a game in Orlando a few years, 2-3 years ago, and we were down there trying to get autographs. And George walked by, and you know how it's always nice to call people by their like Mr. So Mr. Blaha. My wife just says George, and he comes over. We talk for a minute, and he's like, "Oh, you want a picture? Sure." And so I'm holding my son, and we're just hanging out, and my son like reaches and touches his hair, and he was like 1.5, and one of the pictures, and then George is just going. Like the water picture, you know what I'm talking about? Where there's water coming out, he's like this. He's doing that. And I'm like, oh man, I hope I never see that man in real life again, because he'd probably remember that.
Oh man. I've never had the opportunity to meet him because it just seems like anytime that I'm at a game, I'm just not close enough. And I know he leaves pretty early, but
yeah,
he's the only person that I out of the him and Greg are probably the only two that I haven't really met before. I mean, whoever runs his Instagram account is always like asking me to collab like on posts with him. But I mean, like I know Greg doesn't run his own social media. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. But I want to give you one more chance to plug and promote where people can find you and support you and check out the Detroit Pistons content that you're creating over there on YouTube and on Twitter.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Ledgie Sports, creating all kinds of Pistons content. We've been transitioning more to lives, and those happen usually after games or in the evenings around 9:15 p.m. And there's one episode we do called 313 Connect, and that's with Sean Murphy, a friend of this show as well, and then Brendan Sims. Also have other guests coming on just the Ledgie Sports podcast. Just all things Pistons at that point.
Well, I'm sure Pistons fans will definitely check that out because I feel like everyone has their spin on the Detroit Pistons. I always say the Detroit Pistons community, I think, has the most podcasts out of any NBA team. Yeah. I'm not even exaggerating when I say there are probably over 25 Detroit Pistons podcasts.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy how many podcasts are out there, but definitely go support Ledgie. I'm going to put your links in the description after I'm done with this podcast so people can just click it and follow you that way for your Twitter and your YouTube. But I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have to do a podcast on your show, or you ever want to come back on here, you're always welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it.
All right, you guys, we will see you, let's see, Sunday at 1. Wow, what sicko does a game Sunday at 1? Immediately after that game, I might just do my usual long-form Sunday podcast I do with you guys. I might just have a podcast like at 7 o'clock. Don't really know who I'm going to have on a guest. I haven't really made up my mind yet, but we'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a good night, and as always, go Pistons.